What's going on, y'all? I apologize because the footage you're about to see, there's a bit of a lens flare in it. I didn't catch it at the time I was filming, but now that I'm editing it in the future, there is a bit of a lens flare, so I apologize for that. I'm gonna try to edit as much out as possible, but if you do see it, I apologize, and it won't happen again. What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Josh, the Screen Gazer, and I know I look a little different. Don't mind that, but I'm back talking about heated rivalry. I already talked about episodes 1 through 3, but this time I'm talking about episodes 4 through 6, which is the end of the first season. I don't know if another season is coming out. The way it ended, we'll get to that. Kind of like a cliffhanger, so it makes sense if there's a season 2, but we're talking about episodes 4 through 6 here. So, as episode 3 left off, it kind of only talked about Scott and Kip about their relationship, but episode 4 it goes back to Shane and Ilya, and this time it kind of fast forwards 2 years later, going into the fall of 2016. There's a montage where Shane wins back-to-back championships, so now Shane is a two-time champ. Ilya is only a one-time champ, but Shane's sadly doing commercials because they in this montage they do like flashbacks to summer. So during the summer, Shane's just doing commercials and promotions for Rolex and Reebok and a bunch of other brands, while Ilya is sadly going back to Russia, and he's not really enjoying it. Well, he enjoys it like the first year, but every summer he keeps doing it, he just gets more and more bored and just uninterested and keeps thinking about Shane. Then Shane, you know, gets bored about it also, then thinks more and more of Ilya. And then finally it lands in fall of 2016. Now this episode is all about kind of what they do in their spare time and how even in their spare time they're still thinking of each other. This one focuses on both, mostly Shane though, but for Shane and Ilya, it's clear like both of their friends over these past years, ever since before their rookie season, they see that they're texting each other, even though different names in their contacts, Jane and Lily. But their friends are noticing, hey, you've been texting this same girl for more than like what 6, no, 8 years. 8 years you've been texting the same girl, and they're like, so when are you gonna get serious? What's going on? And it's clear like they're catching or picking up this weird behavior because you've been texting the same person 8 years, but then Shane and Ilya are like, oh, they're no one, like it's no one, but they're clearly lying, right? But Ilya wants Shane to stay actually this time after sex. They have sex in fall of 2026, and they have sex, because they've been doing that for the last 8 years. And this time Ilya is kind of lonely and wants Shane to stay, which is the first time. And we kind of saw this glimpse in episode 3 where Scott was telling Kip, "Hey, can you stay?" Scott's more of that mature, I think, uh, person where he wants someone to say he knows that he's lonely. He loves Kip quicker, I feel like, than uh, Shane and Ilya, where it took 8 years for them to finally be like, all right, I love you. Now, Scott and Kip was quick like that, but Ilya is finally like opening up more and saying like, hey, can you stay? And Shane does stay, actually stays the night, and then also stays the morning of, until Shane kind of gets scared and leaves because he's starting to like Shane more than usual. Like they're not friends with benefits, That's at least how Shane is feeling, and you can see it in the show. And then as Shane tries to distance himself again from Ilya, he gets one of his call. Gets a call from his buddy saying, "Hey, come down here at this restaurant. My the chef is a friend of mine. The chef is a friend of mine. Like, come down. You'll have a good time." It's like Shane's like, "Okay, fine. Like, just to get my mind off things." Then there he meets, boom, an actress that he loves and has been watching a lot of their films, and then boom, all of a sudden they are together and are dating, right? And Ilya sees this and now is bothered by it, and now it starts this whole new thing where it was mostly Ilya that was into girls and guys, and Shane, we've heard that he was into girls, but we don't really know what's going on with Shane when it comes to his sexuality. But here it shows like, hey, like he's into someone. And then it cuts to episode 5 now, where that Shane and this actress Rose is now more serious. At least that's what it looks like. And then it flashes to the 2017 All-Star game where Ilia and Shane are actually going to finally be able to compete on the same team, which is great news. They've always been, butting heads and stuff like that when it comes to the game because they never played each other. But now they're doing this East versus West format, so they're able to play. And then it shows like Shane and Rose, they break up, right? And they break up because Rose, it's too obvious for her to see that Shane is gay. And then Shane finally, you know, accepts, like, okay, yeah, I am gay. I've tried to be straight. I've tried to be bi. I've tried to like women, but he just can't, and that's okay. And I'm happy to see that Shane is finally owning his sexuality and being able to be happy knowing, hey, I'm gay and I'm really into men, especially Ilya. But Ilya is now still struggling with the acceptance of loving Shane. He's really struggling with that. And, eventually they do get together, obviously, because they're playing on the same team. And Shane opens up to Ilya, about really liking him and on fully being gay and not liking women and really liking Ilya. And Ilya just finally breaks down, especially when Ilya leaves because his dad passes away, and he finally breaks down and opens up to Shane in Russian. But the subtitles show like he loves Shane, and he really wants to be with him. He's always on his mind, and it's been like that. But Ilya just couldn't, express that. But after 8+ years now, Ilya and Shane are finally being able to, maybe commit to each other, but behind the scenes because they can't publicly come out. But that is until Shane suffers an injury. He's out for the season in the playoffs. Boston gets knocked out of the playoffs. And then all of a sudden, boom, Scott Hunter, surprise, he's in episode 5, wins the cup. So now he's a champion. And what does he do to celebrate his, championship? He brings Kip out on the ice and kisses him and publicly comes out as gay. Now, this is 3 years after, episode 3, the events of Scott and Kip that happened in 2014. So this is 2017 now. So it took him 3 years, and finally he's out. And he did tell Kip it'll take a couple years. Um, Granted, I don't know how many years. I didn't know if he was gonna plan on doing it until he retired and then come out. But he said, "Fuck it, I'm coming out. I love Kip so much." And it finally showed Shane and Ilya like, hey, this is a possibility now. And then Shane invites Ilya to his cottage for 2 weeks, and Ilya says yes because he didn't really want to do it, but now that Scott did it, he's like, you know what, I don't care. I just want to be with Shane. So then it cuts to episode 6, where Shane and Scott spend like those 2 weeks together in the cottage, and that's really all what the episode is. It's just them spending time with each other, opening up. Shane talking about his parents, his lifestyle, him, being gay, and Rose is just a friend because, he doesn't like women like that. And then Ilya opening up about Russia, his brother, his dad, and more about his mom because we never really understood, or Ilya never talked about his mom. But it turns out, she passed away due to suicide, and Ilya loved her and stuff like that. And it's not until like the middle of the episode where we understand why he loves Shane so much. He loves Shane obviously because Shane is Shane, who he is, but also I think it's that Shane reminds Ilya of his mom. I feel like there's that, and Ilya and Shane now want to possibly start a charity and use that as a way to try to help be with each other, as well as Ilya leaving Boston as a free agent and then going to Ottawa, and then they can be together as well, which is a beautiful way to elaborate, how Ilya is finally opening up. He's finally able to accept who he is, who Shane is, and their relationship. And now the memory of his mom is helping them, possibly be together through this charitable thing. And then also, plot twist, his dad shows up and sees them kissing. And then now Shane has to come out to his mom and finally, open up and to open up to his parents and say, "Hey, I'm gay." Because as I mentioned my last video talking about how his parents were kind of like didn't obviously saw that he was bothered sometimes but didn't really push it, only cared about the promotions and stuff like that and brands. And then his mom starts to apologize, like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I felt like I made you feel like you weren't able to open up," which I love because now his mom is kind of owning up to things that maybe she wasn't helping. But Shane forgives her, and then now their parents are accepting and are okay and want to help them either come out or just help them be able to love each other. And then that's how it ends. That's how the season ends, which is a bit of a cliffhanger because now you want to see, well, they love each other. Their parents, like Shane's parents, know. Ilya doesn't want to go back to Russia, but that's it. It just kind of ends in the middle of their career, and we don't know. So I'm guessing there's going to be a season two, which if there is, you'll see me back here sitting on this stool talking about that season because the season was actually really good, and I'd rate this season like a 8.1. There are obviously some quirks where dialogue is a bit weird, the acting is a bit weird. I don't know if it's because of like the Canadian production or some of the actors. Another complaint is just like the a complaint I had, which kind of got resolved at the end, was there was just a lot of sex scenes, but towards the end, there was just less sex scenes of them, and now them just opening up more. It wasn't just a physical relationship, which I loved because that was a big complaint in my first 3 episode review. But overall, I think it was a really good show, and I definitely recommend you watch it if you love those type of shows. And that's gonna be it. And the next video you're gonna see is gonna be about another love movie as well on Netflix.